Electricast.
It's missing the point. We're talking about football again because, I mean, I can't, there's so much. There's honestly so much there. I'm really looking forward to doing more football content because this offseason, personally, as a Bears fan for me, has been easily the most I've ever been like locked in and paying attention. But I think that's combined, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, that's correct. That's combined with the fact that the NFL has really worked hard to basically stay relevant for the entirety of the calendar year. So, you know, my updates just don't, you know, they don't change the subject, so neither do I. So here we are. We're talking about football again. We are going to try and do some basketball content this week. This is the football show. Specifically, we're talking about something Mike brought up in the chat this week, which is the 2021 NFL draft, which is interesting. In particular, you maybe have seen some articles around it on the interwebs, but it's interesting in particular the fact that there's only one starting QB left from that entire draft. So we're going to dive into that. But first, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do because we released our free agency talk last week, and that stayed relevant for about 18 seconds before a bunch of more trades and things like that happened. And then additionally, Mike is going to talk about his feelings at some point on the Robert Kraft, Tom Brady Dynasty documentary that I have not seen yet. Bobby's really enjoying it. And Mike has strong opinions about it. So I think that's a really good like triumvirate of people and perspectives to sort of, I can play the audience members that haven't seen it yet, and you can describe it to us in detail. So fuck it. Why don't we just start with that now that we're on the subject? Essentially, the state-run media that is the New England Patriots has released a documentary about how Robert Kraft is the brains of the operation of the greatest football dynasty in the history of the NFL. Is that kind of what I've gathered, Mike, or am I off base? Are they more accurate than that?
Well, they do follow some sort of historical accuracy along the way.
Great. Like when Spielberg did Lincoln, you know, there was some stuff it just like, it's there, but some stuff it changes.
But it's important to note that like, if you are expecting a documentary, this is not that. This is an entertainment show that happens to center around the New England Patriots, specifically the point of view of Kraft Productions, and Tom Brady. I think like, you know, I had a lot of fun, just like any Patriot fan would, reliving like the first couple of episodes where you talk about you know, the first Super Bowl and how they became a dynasty, everything like that. We don't need to get into all that. Like we get it. But when they start really glossing shit over is between the two Super Bowls, right? We'll just go between 04 and 07, you know, the imperfect season, when it was brought out like it was all Belichick's decisions that led them to, you know, not having receivers around Brady or anything like that, completely ignoring the fact that, as we're seeing now, Kraft just doesn't want to spend any fucking money. They just don't want to spend money. And this entertainment show took a lot of shots at Bill. The worst shot being, I think it was episode 6 or 7, Aaron Hernandez.
How many episodes are there?
10. It's a 10 episode series. Yeah.
See, right off the bat, like just from my content production perspective, even though I haven't seen it, I don't think you need 10 episodes to cover that. I really don't.
Agreed.
I think that's your problem right off the bat.
But the players, specifically like Harrison and Devin McCourty, they each said that they were interviewed for about 6 hours about their time in New England. And Harrison was in that for probably 10 minutes total. And they really framed it in a way about how much Bill sucked as a head coach. Like, this was a fucking hit piece on Bill, who did not do himself any favors, by the way, throughout this entire thing. But the most damning part, Bobby, and then I'll let you go before I talk about the end, was Hernandez. Like, the entire Aaron Hernandez episode was about how
Bill helped hide the body.
Bill picked them. Bill knew about his past, and at the draft combine that year in 2012 or whatever, or 2013, Aaron Hernandez came up to Bill and asked him for a trade to Seattle so that he could get away from the gang life, and Bill said no. Like, everyone said that about Bill, and then they had some asshole who's a cop in Boston say, and you know, if you just made it to Seattle, maybe one more person would still be alive. Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like they literally just blamed Belichick for a murder.
I don't think you can put a death on the man. I don't think you can put a. I don't think.
Oh,
You
they
can
seemed
tried.
excessive.
I think that's
They
extreme.
tried.
I think that's extreme. At best.
What I thought was interesting about it was how it really was framed from the perspective of like at the beginning, it was all fun and games. You know, they didn't necessarily paint Belichick as like a villain at the beginning, but by the end of that, you're 100% right, man. It was downhill every single episode. Belichick got a little more villainy every single time. Like by like you said, the Hernandez episode, it was all done.
Like that was the most glaring one because, and again, Bill didn't do himself any favors when asked about it on camera, which I'm sure they loved using it. He said, "Yeah, you know, it's a sad situation that happened with Aaron, and I just don't, I can't comment anymore about it." Okay, great. We know that's Belichick, right? But you know, Brady wasn't on that. He was conveniently not featured in that episode at all. And in the story about the 2008 season, the entire season, that entire episode was also framed about how Belichick was itching to replace Brady and prove that it wasn't Tom that helped them go 18-1. Like so, like that's when they started really building it. But the most egregious one, you know, murder aside, was the Eagles Super Bowl. You know, like the big thing that we were all talking about, you know, back in the day was that why did Malcolm Butler not start? And like we never heard. Kraft looked dead into the camera as the owner of a franchise and said, "From what I understand, is it was a personal situation between Bill and Malcolm, but that's all the information I have." You're the fucking boss, dude. What do you mean that's all the information that you have? Like the entire thing, he tried to make himself look like the guy that was trying to hold this whole thing together for so long. When in reality, if in 2019 Brady came to him and said, "I don't want to play here next year if Bill's going to be here," Kraft could have stepped in. He could have done whatever. As the owner, he had that ability. He was just a pussy, and now it's all this historical, you know, revisionist history saying, "Well, I did the best that I could, and I wanted Tommy to go out and win a Super Bowl somewhere else." That's just such bullshit. And sorry, last thing, then I'll shut up and unless you have any questions. Kraft said about the Rams Super Bowl, the last one that they won. You know, I was going to keep my eye on Bill based off of what happened against the Eagles. Make sure there's no like funny business. Oh, were you, dude? Were you? What? Well, you've already proven you weren't going to do a fucking thing. So, the behind the scenes stuff was cool. The locker room footage was awesome from like back in 03, 04. Belichick, you know, roasting everybody. Like it was that shit was cool. But I think this backfired because Belichick's popularity in New England when he was fired was at an all-time low. And since this documentary has come out, it's going back up again because everyone knows what this was. It was a fucking hit job on Bill. That's all it was.
So, okay, I have a few things before we move on. So, just based on all the things you said as I absorb it. And so I can only react to what you're saying, but having not seen it yet. And I do have some color on it now that you and Bobby have kind of told me about it. I guess first and foremost, I would just like to say that the visual medium of a documentary allows you to paint any message that you want in editing. So if you're talking about 6 hours worth of interviews, like condensed into 10 minutes, I think that's always going to be the case. Like, I think you're always going to get about 10 usable minutes. There's probably some sort of documentarian rule of thumb on like how long you interview somebody, what kinds of questions you ask, and what usable footage you get. And it probably is in the minutes range, just considering what I know about like how much we shoot fictional shit and how much actually makes it to the screen, right? That being said, it's what 10 minutes you use is the message that you get across. So it doesn't seem to me like if they did have a bias coming into making this, it doesn't sound like they hit it well enough.
No, it did not.
And I think like that, what that does is it loses the audience because the audience signs up for an informational experience, you know? And then when you introduce essentially an unreliable narrator into that, you sort of say, you start taking everything with a grain of salt and you start believing it less. Like season 1 of Making a Murderer came out and it was a sensation, a true crime sensation. Everybody and their mother was talking about it around their water cooler. Then it turned out they left some shit out. They released season 2. Nobody watches it. You're sort of in the documentary format. You're only you're only as good as the truth that you're telling or the lens that you're pointing at something, right? Now that being said, if it has raised Bill's popularity back up, having now left the Patriots and like he's not working anywhere else, that's a factor. I also think there's been like a little hit for him, a little bump for him because Julian Edelman's really taken off as a podcast host. He's like hitting a lot on like the algorithms across the board. And a lot of it is him telling kind of borderline jovial fucking stories about Bill Belichick and like from back, back in the day. And he just seems like very happy with his experience there. So if you juxtapose that, which feels like a more authentic firsthand account because it's just a guy talking against like this, very well curated piece of informational digestion, it's very plausible to me that Robert Kraft was like, yeah, this is what I'm trying to say with this documentary. And it's also very much the flourish of a billionaire to release a whole ass documentary about something that he doesn't like, as opposed to like a tweet. But we're all different.
The wildest part about the whole thing is this was all filmed during the summer. So last summer, Bill was still a fucking employee. So I don't even understand how you could have this release. And let's say they didn't go 4-13 last year and he's still the head coach. How he could be the head coach when this thing came out. Like it stripped him of everything.
Well, I mean, I would just say he definitely knew he was not going to be the head coach at this point in time. I just think Robert Kraft knew that from the time he was shooting this documentary. That's really all that tells us. To push back on one thing, I would say the idea of Kraft not involving himself more in the Malcolm Butler situation makes sense to me because like it's a little bit of a slippery slope, I think, for the owner to involve himself in the GM/head coach's decisions. And because then it's like, well, if you're questioning me about this, like, why are you questioning what? And also hindsight's 2020. By that point, if Bill Belichick wasn't playing, I remember that like what I thought at the time. I have at least that luxury of like having been making takes on sports at that point in the universe. And I was like, well, if Bill Belichick doesn't think he should play, then he probably shouldn't play. And that's how I felt about it at the time. Like that was where his cachet and clout was. So I doubt that Robert Kraft was going to say shit to Bill Belichick at that point because he hadn't taken enough L's yet. And he was going to yet another Super Bowl. So, and he was already a proven guy winning Super Bowls.
But like, it's not plausible for me to believe that as an owner after watching your defense,
that he could find out what happened.
Right, top 5 defense in the league get fucking cooked that entire game by Nick Foles, and you asked the coach why did Malcolm not start, and you let him say, well, it was personal, and you didn't ask a fucking follow up.
Yes, I agree with that part. I don't know if it would have been fair for him to get involved in it at the time, though.
Sure,
Bobby, you look like
I feel like it's funny because I have such a different perspective on this documentary than he does because I feel like it's because I'm not a Patriots fan and like I didn't feel the pain.
Fuck Bill Belichick.
Yeah, right. I didn't feel the pain of that downfall like he did. Right. So like it really was like this roller coaster of like a high of like, I was a fan. And all of a sudden, once I actually started the downfall, it was like a very enjoyable last few episodes for me, I have to say. I'm sorry, Mike. It really was. I really enjoyed the entire thing.
For again, to make sure that we're all being historically accurate, Bobby was a Patriot fan until they won their 3rd Super Bowl, and then he stopped being a fan. So like, don't listen to this horse shit.
Sense. I know.
Yeah, like just don't listen to this horse shit.
But also, I have to agree with the owner part because if there's anyone that knows owners shouldn't get involved in the coach's business, it's a Cowboys fan. And that's a very slippery slope indeed. I can tell you that.
There you go. At least he's also the GM, though.
Right. That's fickle, and now his son kind of is. It's weird.
Yeah, real healthy situation you guys got going on over there.
Yeah, that's good.
I would call
it.
Got
a running back. Same one we had. That's
fine. Wait, who?
Rico Dowdle.
Oh God, nice. Are you going 4th?
That's rough, man. It's gonna be tough.
All right, looking forward to this power rankings season coming in. Okay, free agency went a little crazy after we last spoke, boys. Mostly, I don't mean to only talk about the Bears, but the most interesting storylines do in fact involve them. So I just wanted to get your brief takes, just as a kind of an appendix on our last episode, on both Keenan Allen coming to the Bears, especially in relation to what I now think is the best situation offensively for a number 1 pick to come into ever. Like I mean, just the fact that the thing I think they're doing right is that they gave him an offensive line and they gave him weapons. I would still like a center. I still think we're in need at the center position, but it looks to me like we're going to go edge rusher with our second pick after we get Caleb Williams, which I'm also fine with. The guy from Alabama, I think, should be there around 9, unless we trade down. But yeah, Keenan Allen coming in and looking at it, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift backfield with Cole Kmet, who was coming off a career year, and tight end backup for him from the guy we got from the Chargers. So I wonder, do you agree with that? Do you agree it's an amazing situation for a first round pick? Does it put more pressure on him to perform? And were they right to send Justin to Pittsburgh? We're going to talk more about Justin a little bit later in regards to the draft, but were they right to send him to Pittsburgh? And I want to hear your guys' opinions on that landing spot for him. And the Bears, I think, got kind of fleeced in that deal, but the market had gotten really dire at that point. And I just think they needed to cut their losses, but they definitely, I think it worked out for Pittsburgh really well. I'm happy he's there. I obviously like that team, you guys know, and I think it's a perfect situation for him.
Yeah.
Learn from Russ, but I'd love to hear where you guys are at with it.
Yeah, no. So if we want to start first with the backfield and the weapons for the Bears, man, I think you forgot Roschon Johnson too, which I think is a very key piece to that backfield.
He's good. I mean, he's yet to sort of
but that Swift Johnson combo, man, it's perfect because Swift is
Herbert's our RB2
really. But he's like the receiver, right? He's the receiver.
No, I think DeAndre Swift's like the receiver guy. That was the thing we were missing. Khalil Herbert's kind of like a downhill, kind of elusive running back. He's like kind of DeAndre Swift light, but he's not as good at catching. We lost a lot of receiving stuff when we lost David Montgomery. I think Roschon
will be that 3rd and 1.
A little bit more of a power runner. Yeah, he's a little bit more like a find the holes guy. And he could go either way. Like I think he could be really good. He could have a breakout year, or he could. So I'm glad we reinforced back there. It was a smart move. We needed to. It sucks to pay money to running backs ever, but sometimes you have to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do need a running back. I don't know if that's, it's not that important, but it is a position that on the football.
I know. It was nice to look at Dallas and be like, okay, well, at least we signed someone. And it seemed like it was pretty much the going market rate, and there was worse deals. I probably would have rathered that Derrick Henry 2-year deal, $9 million a year for 2 years. But I think that probably worked out better for him in Baltimore anyway. And we don't really run like that. So I wish we did. Right. That is how I always set my Madden teams up to run, but we don't. So
that's the most, not to go off a quick Cowboys tangent, but I'm going to do it anyways. That's the most frustrating part about all those fucking deals is every single one of them is so affordable for this team that has cap space, that has all this room.
Maybe they're going to draft running back. There's a shitload of running backs.
I mean, that's definitely what they're going to do, but it's just bullshit. But anyways, I agree that Caleb Williams absolutely is coming into the best situation I've ever seen. Those are the 2 best wide receivers I've ever seen a number 1 pick have, man. Those are 2 legitimate number 1 wide receivers.
Joe Burrow had a really good
But that was the year Chase was the year after. Though, so that wasn't.
Oh, that's right.
In,
oh, that's right. He was there for a
in.
year before.
So,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
And the fact that these 2 guys are vets, man, that have been in the league, that have had shitty quarterbacks, that have been in shitty situations, and they complement each other.
Keenan Allen's my favorite wide receiver. I thought I was dreaming when I saw that. He's literally my favorite guy. I was so mad when Mike got him in fantasy this year, and I know he fucked you in the end. But
if you think about the DJ Moore is the prototypical 4 for 180 guy, right? 2 touchdowns. And Keenan Allen is 13 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown. That's exactly what you fucking need as a number 1 pick. And then
it's that volume reception thing that Keenan Allen can do, which I'm really excited about it because Keenan Allen's one of those guys. It's complete Keenan Allen, and it's Keenan Allen again, and it's him again, and it's just we haven't had a guy like that. Tom Brady loved those guys, your buddy's favorite quarterback loves to have a guy like that, And I think you're right. I think DJ Moore, he's more of he's definitely. He can definitely create and play make, but he's also he's gonna bust out 2 or 3 big plays for you. That's what he's gonna do. Maybe he gets the ball 5 yards from the line of scrimmage and busts out that play, or maybe he doesn't. But I agree with you that they absolutely do complement each other really well. Plus, I guess we're gonna run a lot of 2 tight end sets, which I think you can really sort of dominate the middle of the field because we were so soft over the middle.
Yeah.
Everett, yeah, and we were so fucking and he's good. He's genuinely good. Yeah. So we were so soft over the middle of the field, and I don't know if that was Justin Fields' fault, but his advanced analytic numbers, like, those heat maps you'll see where it's like, percentage accuracy down the sideline, percentage accuracy down the sideline. It would just become such a fucking like soft belly in the middle, just green, like fucking from green to red. And you're just like, oh, he doesn't get anybody over the middle. He can't see over the middle properly because I think that takes more calculation. I think that takes more reads.
That's also a byproduct of how bad the offensive line was, that he's being flushed out within like a second or two. So most of his completions are go to the
It felt like he
sidelines.
was waiting for the play to break down. Like that's how it ended up.
Oh yeah.
It was like, I don't think he's going to release the ball. I think he's going to try to run, and it's just going to be like, well, it's going to be, the fucking offensive line broke down. Like, and I'm just like, that's annoying, dude. Like, it feels like you're a little bit behind the play, and I think that he can fix that, but we'll see.
But I don't, like, to your second question about, does this put a lot of pressure on Caleb? I mean, I don't think so. Only because you've given him someone to catch the ball at every level that he can throw the ball to. And I mean, between Swift and Komet and DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, who, by the way, Keenan Allen, 4 out of his last 5 years, he's had more than 100 catches, and he's only played a full season one of those 5 years. So this guy's going to get a ton of fucking catches. He's always going to be there for you. I think this might be the best Bears offense in our lifetime.
Oh, definitely, dude. 100%.
Without a doubt.
It doesn't matter who plays QB.
It's not even close. Yeah, it's not even close.
We forget about those Jay Cutler, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, and Matt Forte days. Like, those are pretty good.
That was pretty good. You're right. It was pretty good.
They were pretty good. The problem with that team,
Jay Cutler,
unfortunately, is like, and I try to talk to Bobby about this all the time because he's always like, I just want to like get to an NFC Championship game, and it's like, that's that team. And I always sort of I look back at it not that fondly because that team convinced me that they had it, like, and there's nothing more heartbreaking than that when I was like, yeah, they have it. They just need to like pass that one last test because we made it, but like that year, I think we were winning.
But at least, listen, the Cowboys convinced me they have it every fucking year and don't even win one. I don't even get one win in the playoffs.
Dude, Jay Cutler was like a very similar QB to Dak Prescott in a lot of ways. I'm not saying
very much so.
I'm not saying in like every way, because like I kind of always liked Jake. Like I kind of always liked his like general sort of vibe. Like he was like, it's fine, fucking fine, we'll figure it out. And it definitely went to shit by the end, like obviously. But he was my QB. Like he was the only QB I ever like rode with, really, because I always hated Gross because he was fucking terrible. And like Cutler had big games. Like Cutler would have four touchdown games and like 300+ yards, and you'd be like, whoa, fuck yeah, like we got a guy that can actually do it. Fields would have these games where, because there's the Justin Fields truthers, like the real truthers that are still like really like he's gonna be. It's like, dude, you weren't watching. Something was on your glasses. There was a filter because like he was so good 2 years ago, where it was like, holy shit, like this guy's gonna fucking do it. Like he just needs to develop. But then you look back and you're like, the things he couldn't do and the things he couldn't learn how to do are so important. Like he just wouldn't show up in the fourth quarter enough. And I saw enough examples of being given the opportunity, the amount of time on the clock or timeouts or whatever to win a game, and he couldn't do it. And like that to me was like enough by the end. That last Packers game, I was like, bring on Caleb Williams. And because it's not enough to bin him off, but it's enough to bin him off when you have the option of getting Caleb Williams, if that makes sense. Like I would have still kept him if we weren't in the position where it's like, this guy might be generational. We have to go try. We look like fucking idiots if we don't try. If we try and he isn't, it's like, well, everybody thought, like, it wasn't just us, dude. It wasn't our only gamble. Everybody thought the guy was going to be fucking unreal. So I hope he's good. It would be really awesome for me. Like it would really improve my life. Like, and maybe more than it should. Like,
you wanna transition the Fields there, because I got some thoughts on that Field stuff. I definitely
let's talk about the fact. Let me just preface it really quick with the fact that we're going to talk about this 2021 draft, and we can start
for sure.
We can start with Fields based on that, where he is now in Pittsburgh, because there was a fair number of quarterbacks drafted in that draft, and they were all pretty notable names. Trevor Lawrence went number 1 overall. Zach Wilson went right behind him. Trey Lance went 3rd. Justin Fields went 11th. Mac Jones 15th. Famously, Mike was mad the Patriots didn't trade up to get Justin, or that he was mad that You were mad that he didn't fall to you? Like, you thought maybe he was gonna still be there at 15, if I remember correctly?
I'm mad we didn't get him.
It
It
made
was
it
both.
made
I
me
think it was
it
both,
made me
right?
it made me happy because it was a real vote of confidence from you for this guy that I didn't really know shit about at the time because I don't follow college football closely enough. In fact, I basically gave myself an aneurysm trying to figure out my March Madness brackets today. So like, because but this is the problem with college. There's 7 billion teams, so it's like really hard to follow everything at the same time. I'm not capable of it. I'm not smart enough. You guys are smarter than me. So you told me Justin Fields. I was like, great. I'm thrilled. But you got Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, and Davis Mills all also got drafted, but we're probably not going to talk about those 3 guys. So just those first rounders up until 15. Let's start with Fields. Fields is now in Pittsburgh behind Russell Wilson. He's it's been pretty much declared that like Russ is the starter. It's a really interesting situation because I think you've seen that Tomlin has enough control over the team where I don't think that the pressure will kill Wilson, just that Fields is there. But that doesn't mean I don't think the fan base is going to want to see Fields. It's a more exciting prospect to see Fields play than Russell Wilson, I think. But if Russell Wilson goes out there and game manages them to like, an 8-2 start in their first 10 games, which with some of the defensive additions that they've picked up is all the way possible, and he gets along with Mike Tomlin, and it seems like he's running a good offense, then, all the better for Fields to just walk into an already healthy situation when Russ eventually ages out. So let's talk about Justin Fields, his career so far. Mike, to start you off, where would you draft him now compared to the other guys? If you had to trade a draft pick, would you draft him over Zach Wilson, Trey Lance?
Yeah. I 1,000% over Zach Wilson, Trey Lance,
Not Trevor
and
Lawrence.
no, but Mac and Mac Jones, like which he
And Mac.
was. Yeah, I think that when you think about the situation that he went to, it's the complete opposite of the situation that the Bears are building for Caleb Williams right now, right? Like they didn't really have an offensive identity, and he goes in and he's, I think in his 40 career starts, he's what, 11-29. So like that's obviously not great,
No.
but I think to your point, the things that he couldn't do well, he should be able to, but the things that he does really well, most people can't.
Right.
And I think like if he works under a consistent regime like Mike Tomlin, and they just brought in the old Falcons coach, right? For the offensive coordinator. Yeah, Arthur Smith. Like if they're there for a while,
head coach.
but he's a great offensive.
He's a really good
coordinator.
OC. I wanted him
for sure.
I wanted him in Chicago for that reason. I was good to just take the slack of like, I know he was dumb as a head coach, and I know he frustrated everybody, especially last year. But he's a good OC. That's why the thing is, I don't mind ex-head coaches because they had to be really good coordinators to get a head coaching job. So it's like if you want to fucking hire an ex-head coach, he was probably pretty good at the old coordinator job. So we're good to go.
But also like what a franchise for him to be in, because if there's one thing that Pittsburgh can do, it's draft skill players.
I know,
So
they're probably going to draft another fucking 5th round wide receiver.
Yeah.
We all just like are jealous of. It's so annoying because like they traded Deontay Johnson. That's another free agency highlight that happened. But
Yep.
I mean, they are going to do that, right? There's just some random kid out of like fucking Georgia Tech, like 3rd round, the 3rd string,
Mississippi Valley State.
Yeah, he's going to be on New Mexico State. New Mexico
He's
State
actually a quarterback. He's a quarterback. Right?
Yeah. But he's like, where you look and you're like, damn, he weirdly ran like a 4.40. You're like, oh shit, okay.
I think my favorite one was Randall. I think he was my number one gadget wide receiver guy they had. Right? I gotta say, I just feel like Fields is the prototypical guy for Tomlin and Pittsburgh, and like you've already seen that type of quarterback succeed in Pittsburgh, and I feel like it's just so open for Fields to come in and take this job, man. All it's gonna take is 2 bad starts from Russ. Like it's not like Russ has been lighting the world on fire these past 2 years. If you ask me, if you were to take like the perspective of like the quarterback power rankings, we'll bring it full circle. The quarterback power rankings, I would put Fields and Wilson pretty close to each other, if not Fields maybe over Wilson. So I just like in my mind,
if Wilson starts, I just think it's better for Justin.
I agree. If he comes in and takes over, I agree with that for sure. But I just if I were to take my crystal ball and like look forward to next season, I see week 3, dude, Fields taking over for Wilson. I I'd be
I don't know,
surprised
dude.
if
I
he
don't know.
wasn't the starter
I
by
think
week
I think
5.
I think
I
you
just see it, man. I don't know.
yeah, but you're forgetting the fact that Russ is coming off a season where he had almost 30 touchdowns and 8 picks with a pretty okay mediocre Denver offense. Like I think if again he's in the right situation with skill players around him and they actually act that they believe in him. I mean, they won 10 games with those 2 assholes or 3 assholes as quarterbacks last year. They're probably going to win 11 with Russ, and it'll revitalize his career. Maybe he gets to go sign a bigger contract somewhere else, but I don't think Russell Wilson having a good year actually hurts Justin Fields at all. I think that he can learn from him and he'll be poised to be the starter the year after because they're going to pick up his 5th year option and you're going to get him for $23 million or something like that. So like that's a bargain for quarterbacks now. I just don't see
Right,
a
for
negative
sure.
in this.
Yeah, no, agreed. There is no negative, but like if you just look at the situation that they were both just in, Russ had a better situation in Denver than Fields ever had in Chicago. In my opinion, if you put Fields in that Denver team with that Denver roster, I think he excels so much more than Russ did, and more than he did in Chicago. Like he had 2 better wide receivers than Fields ever did. I mean, maybe DJ Moore is better than both of them, but
Yes.
just like as a tandem, though, that like that core is definitely better than anything he ever had. And then we had a couple good tight ends there. Who was that one that just got traded to Seattle? Noah Fant was there for him. Like he had some dudes there, and he didn't do anything with it really. In fact, he fucking shit the bed for 2 straight seasons. So you're right.
Just
There is no negative, but
just can't call a 26-8 season shitting the bed. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Mike. Just because you have to answer the Russell Wilson question before you ask the Justin Fields question because this is the situation that they've put themselves in. And I think that the best situation for the Steelers and Justin and Russ is to just say, okay, like let's see what this offense, what we can bring to the table with this offense. Because if you look at both guys' profiles, they're not moving away from the Kenny Pickett ideology because they don't want to start over. So they're trying to plug in a guy that can actually do what they thought Kenny Pickett would be able to do by now. Which I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously not easy to be able to tell what a quarterback is going to turn into because so many teams get it fucking wrong all the time, and draft experts get it wrong all the time. So I don't hate the idea of saying like, okay, well, we're betting on the fact that we can win games with our defense like we did in the latter half of last season, and Russ can manage us through games. And going into the future, we're betting on the fact that Justin Fields is better than Kenny Pickett, which I think is a perfectly reasonable bet to make.
Yep.
The problem with it is we needed Justin Fields to be a game winner for us. And the reason why this situation is so good for him is the Steelers can be like, just don't fuck up. Just don't fuck up. And like he can go and learn system mechanics, and he can go through pretty decent reads, and he can read like a high-low defense. But there's certain defenses that he just can't read. Like he can't beat like dynamically, but he could maybe potentially get into a position where they throw those defenses at him that have just worked on him, and he doesn't lose the game for his team. Right. And I think that's probably the ceiling there. But also, I've seen him be able to bully slow defenses where, on a day where if you might have a couple of days when Justin Fields takes that offense over. I do think it is inevitable. I agree with you there, Bobby. I do think it's happening at some point. I just don't know about week 3. But if he takes that offense over, there's going to be a day where the defense can just, play at 60% and stay healthy because he's just running all over the fucking team that he's playing. So it's, it's exciting. I think if I was a Steelers fan, I'd be really looking forward to it because he's a really dynamic player to watch. I'm really happy with his landing point. And like you said, Mike, he would get drafted now over everybody but Trevor Lawrence in his draft. Is that a damning prospectus on the draft year that everybody basically said this is the most QB heavy year? A lot of similar undertones to what we're hearing going into this draft. So I'm starting to believe it when I see it type thing. But what's your perspective on that draft year as a whole before we move on to the Mac Joneses of the world?
I think that in that situation where we're told it's a quarterback heavy draft, that if you have 6 quarterbacks that you think are going to go in the first round, it's two, like at least 3 of them are going to be busts, if not 4. Like there's only going to be 2 actual perennial starters, and the perennial starter from that draft is Trevor Lawrence, who has a career record of 20-30. So he's also not lighting the fucking world on fire. Now, a lot of that was because of Urban Meyer in his first year.
Yeah, but he's also like clearly the best QB from that draft. Like,
yeah, but if you just, again, this is a stats thing. I know that you can't judge it all by stats, but if you just looked at his stats compared to Mac Jones, it's actually very comparable. Now, the eye test would tell you that Mac Jones is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, and Trevor Lawrence is, which I wholeheartedly agree. But
yes, if you have eyes. Yeah.
If you look at like Zach Wilson, what a fucking bust that guy was. Yeah, that
was fun though. It was fun to watch.
Yeah,
it was a good dumpster fire for sure.
$1 million arm, but just nothing. He's got nothing going on between his ears.
I know, but he would make crazy throws sometimes, and you'd be like, "Oh, Zach Wilson, okay."
Right.
I heard he's got a golden dick though. That's what I heard.
Yeah, and
it's true, man.
So who do you think's the biggest bust? Is it Trey Lance or is it Zach Wilson?
I think it's Mack.
It's got to be Lance. It's got to be Lance, man. I mean, we saw Lance for 2 games, and then he got traded to go be the 3rd string quarterback in Dallas.
For a 4th round pick.
Play any for a 4th, right? So
okay, but can I make an argument? Can I make an argument though that like
because we haven't seen it?
Because we don't know what we don't know.
No, because the damage that it did to the franchise should be a factor in how much of a bust that pick was. Because it's not
that's fair.
How much does the QB suck? It's how bad was that pick for your franchise. That's how I judge the bust. And personally, because they got Purdy for basically nothing, it sort of washes out for them.
Literally,
they drafted the Patriots used a mid first round pick on a QB they were essentially asking to come and save their franchise. And they just basically set themselves back like 3 years. Now they're starting completely over, and with like a whole new coaching staff. Like he took I would easily say that the man who took down the greatest head coach in the history of the game, Mac Jones, is the biggest bust of that year. I mean, he was so terrible that Bill Belichick lost all credibility, and no one had more credibility than Bill Belichick. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty big fucking bust, if you ask me. He fucking retired the greatest living coach. Like,
well, but I would also say that the situation that they were drafted to are completely different, right? Like you saw, there's stability within the Shanahan offense, and they
ended up being his fault. It still ended up being his fault that like everything went to shit. Like you see, he still took the blame.
Bill's fault.
They both led. They're both don't work there anymore. They both don't work there anymore. Though. Bill Belichick just proved that there's no way to be immune from having to marry a fucking not good quarterback. Like I've seen coaches get guillotined for that for years, but I thought Bill Belichick could ride out one. Apparently no one can ride out one. It's just not allowed in the NFL. If you have a quarterback as bad as Mac Jones, you have to get fired and he has to get traded. And it has to happen at the same time. So honestly, I mean, at this point,
it was really bad.
here's my honest to goodness pitch of why I think Mac Jones is a bigger bust than Trey Lance. Would you try Trey Lance in New England right now? Would you try him if you didn't have let's say if you didn't have the 3rd pick to draft Drake May this year, which is what you're going to do. Say you fucked yourself and you're out of the thing, but somebody was offering you Trey Lance for nothing, or he was a free agent. And you could sign him for a fucking, just an absolute minimum contract. You'd absolutely try him out before you try out Mac Jones. So that by definition says he's a bigger bust. Mac Jones is just a bigger bust. So fuck, Bobby, which one would you rather have on the Cowboys right now? And you have an actual horse in the race. So would you rather have Trey Lance just sitting there? Because you never know. Or would you rather have finished fucking product you do know, Mac Jones? I rest my case.
But Trey Lance. Yeah, fair. That's fair.
That's
dude, Plus, I feel like just the image of the what do we call it now? The Vegas lateral or like the Vegas blunder, whatever it's called. Just that image alone equals biggest busts of the draft. Right. Just him getting blown the fuck up by Chandler Jones equals biggest.
Trevor Lawrence still the starter and the franchise quarterback in Jacksonville.
Well, Zach Wilson
doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers is the QB there. It doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers is the QB there. Their franchise is living and dying on the fate of Aaron Rodgers now and his Achilles and his opinions. So Like, I don't, I mean, that's, they signed that fucking Faustian bargain. They signed that devil's contract. That's what did that to them. That wasn't Zach Wilson's fault. All right. They're the one who fucking joined up with the League of fucking Extraordinary Idiots. So they can walk the plank on that one for as long as they both shall live. But I mean, Trey Lance again, he might start 6 games in a row and you'd be like, like it's not decided yet. That's another part of it. So yeah, I mean,
besides quarterback, was the biggest skill position bust Kyle Pitts?
No, that's Arthur Smith, bro. They didn't use him. You can't call it. They literally didn't use him. And when they did,
I'm just saying, based on what we've seen and the skill players that were taken, is he not the?
Okay,
is he not the
I actually
wasn't
wholeheartedly.
that Ruggs? Ruggs was the next.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, you could have Jamar Chase on your team right now. You could have Jalen Waddle on your team right now.
Jalen Waddle, ETN.
You could have Devontae Smith on your team right now. You could have Micah Parsons on your team right now. Those are all guys I'd take over Kyle Pitts. I haven't stopped naming guys.
We still don't know though with him though. We really don't.
We know he's not Jamar Chase.
He's not Jamar Chase. We don't though, because listen, Arthur's.
Yes.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. He hasn't had. I think we're gonna see a different Kyle Pitts.
He said Marcus Mariota.
Let's play this game again. Let's play. No.
Think about time out before you go. Think about what Kirk Cousins made TJ Hawkinson look like this past year. Okay. Kirk Cousins loves his fucking tight ends. Dude loves his tight ends. And now he's the quarterback there. I'm telling you, we're going to see a different Kyle.
Oh, I absolutely think he could get better. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. You're the GM of the Cowboys. You're the GM of the Cowboys. Which one would you like? I have in my left hand, Kyle. I have in my right hand, Jamar Chase. Say Kyle Pitts. We'll just shut the whole podcast down, Bobby, because no one's going to listen to our opinions ever again. Here's Jamar Chase. Here's Kyle Pitts.
It's not fucking Kyle Pitts. You're right.
You're right. Here's Jalen Waddle. Here's Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts might be great. I don't think he's gonna be Travis Kelce. I just right now there's just a lot of guys they could have taken.
But just to put that in perspective, though, Bobby, because I do agree with your theory that he hasn't had a good quarterback or a good offense, but he has 270 targets in 3 seasons. And he has 150 catches. So they did throw him the ball quite fucking often.
He kind of looked like he couldn't turn the corner to
That's
me.
not a bad catch rate.
No, I know, but he kind of looked like
2,000 yards.
Yeah, he looked like he couldn't turn the corner to me properly. He needs to get his he looks like a Cadillac turning around in there. And a
Cadillac Williams, nice name drop. Nice.
It's a nice car to drive, but it's a boat. I need you to look
wide ass.
Look less like a traffic cone and more like a guy who can turn around. Like that would be my that would be my note for Kyle Pitts. I think he might be good, but Patrick Surtain the second went 9th. I would have taken him over Kyle Pitts also.
My boy went 11.
Honestly, you can do that with any team.
Meltdown. Let's not forget my meltdown because I wanted Surtain. I don't know if we remember. And then
I remember.
Parsons ended up being the better pick here too. So
100%. I mean, quite honestly, the Bears took Fields at 11. Micah Parsons went 12th. I would right now. Right now, I would take Micah Parsons on my team because Justin Fields fucked off to Pittsburgh for like a 20th round pick. So
but it is worth noting that Dallas traded out of 10 where they could have picked Devonta Smith to get Parsons. Which by the way, I don't think there's no bad in that. But could you imagine CeeDee Lamb and Devonta Smith now that we know what we know on that offense?
That'd be pretty.
They wouldn't have made that CeeDee Lamb trade though if they had Devonta. I don't think.
Yeah, you're right. They only have one good wide receiver at any given time as their favorite.
It's true, and they have to get rid of the other one. It is a universal law of Cowboys. I think the most interesting part of this draft though is like we started out with the quarterbacks, and that's definitely what the headline was going into the draft. That's definitely everyone's quarterback. When you look back at this draft though, I think if you look through even all the way down to round 4 with Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's one of the most elite skill position and interior classes we've seen in so long, guys. There's so many names on this list. Like we said, Chase, Waddle, Sewell, Surtain, Devontae Smith, Parsons, Slater, Vera Tucker, all these guys, Leatherwood.
Depends what you think about Najee Harris. I don't know. I mean, he was good for a year.
Exactly, Najee Harris. And then, like I say, you go all the way down to the round 4, you get, Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's other guys on here. Nico Collins in Houston was in this draft. Like, there's a lot of names that came out of this draft that weren't the quarterbacks. And in my opinion, that's the story coming out now. Like, I was looking at it and I was like, wow, like all we were talking about was quarterback. But ended up this draft just littered the NFL with Pro Bowlers that we're going to see in the league for a long time. It's awesome.
It's true. I mean, the parallels between that draft and this draft, I think, are kind of high, because I think the way it's been framed to me, at least, and like, tell me if you guys disagree.
Wide receivers are dope in this draft.
So the depth of the wide receivers are a conversation, which, as
unbelievable.
you just pointed out, like Amon-Ra St. Brown is like one of my favorite wide receivers. He went in like the 4th round. Like you'd be pretty. I think you'd be pretty smart to try and turn one pick into 2 or 3 in lower rounds if you were drafting at skill positions this year. And I think that seems like so obvious to me that I think you can really get a good idea of the teams that are going after skill positions. They're the teams that are trading down if they're trying to get a wide receiver room built, So with that being said, Mike, I'm in the luxurious position of having the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick. If that
do you have both of those, DK?
I do. If those I do,
we didn't know. You didn't tell us that. I don't know if we've heard that.
If you guys knew. I didn't know if you guys knew. I just wanted to say it again. I didn't know if I'd said it already or whatever. But if that draft was a lot like the 2021 draft, you'd want to not take Drake May, right? Like you'd be.
I don't want to take Drake May.
The problem is, like, what that draft shows.
Who do you want? Who do you want?
I would.
The LSU guy.
I want
the guy, right?
I want Jaden Daniels. Yeah, but so,
that's
but
yes.
I think obviously they're going to take the Drake May, because I think you have to.
Well, Williams and Jaden Daniels are going to be off the board. I think that's why they take Drake May.
Yeah, but
you think Jaden goes too?
Yeah, everyone thinks he goes too. Now, I all because of like coming into the season, he was going to be like the 34th
1, 2, 3. Has that ever happened?
Which literally in 2021.
I don't think that they've run the 4.
They were 1, 2, 3 in 2021.
I don't think they've run
it was 1, 2, 4.
And somebody was talking about it was 1, 2, 3. But somebody was talking about
you're right.
The Cardinals
Cardinals
potentially trading down. Cardinals could potentially trade down and still draft Marvin Harrison. There's like a world where that might happen if somebody really needs a QB. I think there's a guy who could go.
I wish you go up and get him. Fuck it. Fuck the running. Fuck we'll do what we did in my fantasy draft. We'll just fucking throw the ball 84 times a game.
I think the Patriots have put themselves in a position where they have to go and they have to take a quarterback there.
When's your next pick after that?
34.
That's not bad. You're high in the 2nd round. You could get somebody decent.
You get a solid wide receiver at 34 this year. Solid wide receiver for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Keon Coleman falls out of grace and he can fall to 34. Then Drake May, Keon Coleman, like that's a good build. But the scariest part about this draft is everybody's fucking boner for JJ McCarthy. Like I don't get it.
That's just because of how good Michigan did. But that kid's got fucking college.
Mac Jones written all over
him, dude.
I was thinking Kyle Bowler. I see Kyle Bowler all over that.
Like that one is real obvious to me. But like I have met so many NFL
Chris
that will make that mistake. They will never cease to amaze you how willing so many NFL franchises are to make exactly the mistake that kid is. I mean, nothing against him. I hope he gets his fucking bag. I genuinely do.
It's every year though. You're right. Every year,
someone's gonna fucking draft him. Like, I wonder.
Blaine Gabbert.
I wonder if the Vikings put themselves in a position to do something like that. I think I could.
That does seem like a Christian Ponder type draft pick.
Yeah, okay. That would make me really laugh if the Vikings drafted him. I would really enjoy that.
Keep going, Jake Walker. Jake Walker is another one.
Or out of the most,
I'm listening to the point where Bobby just names mediocre QBs.
I do. We could have a whole goddamn show right now. You know I love mediocre QBs, guys. Come on.
Yeah. You think he could go to the Vikings, Mike?
4 out of the most recent 5 mock drafts that were just released have Minnesota trading their 11 and 23rd overall pick to get up to the 5 to take JJ McCarthy, which is
that shit right there. That's that shit right there, guys.
Stupid.
That's that shit.
I really hope that happens. I'm gonna have the best draft. The best draft day if that happens. It's like Caleb Williams.
That's
there's just going to be like, I want the moment. Like I've never experienced, I'm all about like singular experiences in the NFL, and I've never had the moment, boom or bust. I've never had the moment of like the hat
Boom.
and the number one QB, we're drafting him. Everyone knew he's coming up. He's smiling. He's shaking hands. He's taking photos. My whole social media page is just littered with fucking like contract signature shit and like all this different stuff. And I mean, I'm ready to get the guy a signature shoe right now, to be honest with you, because to the moon as far as that goes. I think we've done a nice job talking about this. That draft was weird as shit, and it just goes to show that nobody knows dick about shit ever.
Right.
And that's essentially what that draft shows us. I think that's why you pointed it out in particular, Mike, is because there's interesting things all across that draft board where, some teams knew shit that we really didn't know, and it was just like a huge upside. Like, we've been talking about the Lions a lot for good reason, because they made it so far this year, maybe farther than we expected, even though I was high on them. I mean, our prediction show went really well. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. But the Lions, like, they also had to get lucky a couple times. I refuse to believe that there isn't luck involved in these drafts, because you can analyze and do stat stuff and combine stuff till the cows come home. But at the end of the day, like, there's a little bit of a dice roll on any high profile player that you're trying to bring in to make a change to your offense or really like add to your defense in any way, shape, or form. There's less pressure on defensive players, I think, coming out of the draft. But, what was that kid's name that from Georgia that went to the Eagles? He was like a D lineman.
Jordan Davis?
No, it was like last year. It was like the 20.
Yeah, Jordan Davis, is it?
No. That's not the right name.
Bobby said it can't be right.
No, it doesn't ring true to me. Georgia D lineman Eagles. Jordan Davis. Wow, maybe it changed his name.
Maybe he changed his name. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be it. Was he
the guy I'm thinking of that he had like character issues going into the draft?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay,
he went like 9 or 10. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he dropped down because he was like 2 or 3
He's a
on
freak,
board,
bro. But he's
and then he looked unbelievable. Like he just looked unbelievable on the Eagles, like right off the bat. And it's like, you talk about, it's funny to bring that full circle. You talk about Bill Belichick drafting Hernandez, and it's like, fuck character issues, bro. I mean, I want to set some motherfucking dogs out there on that field. Like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, and Antonio Brown still caught like 1 billion fucking passes. You know what I mean? Like Randy Moss went 16-0. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
That was the best that Patriots offense looked that whole season.
And
those
plus,
2 games with Antonio Brown.
When we were growing up, like our parents' generation, like boomers, they were such fuddy-duddies about stuff. Like there was so much like, he needs to respect the game. I'm like, I don't look at football like that at all. Like I want everyone out there jawing at each other, yelling at each other, fucking like hitting each other as hard as they can. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm from the old school, but like at the end of the day, like character issues be damned. So there's and like it's the same shit. I mean, Caleb Williams on the other hand, people are calling him fruity because he paints his nails and he cried to his mom on TV. I'm
sobbed.
Emotions don't make a man weak. Okay, they make him stronger. Okay.
Yeah, don't cry on TV. All right, like just don't like as a fucking rule of thumb, dude. Like don't fucking cry on TV. Just have
don't cry to such
noted.
Don't cry to such a certain extent where you have to have your camera blocked by your mom, who you're shaking in her arms.
That's
after
fair.
A loss.
That's fair.
Don't cry at school. Everyone will remember. Everyone will remember when you cried at school. It won't. Everyone will know.
MHS, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Look, everyone will know. It's just the way it is. So I don't love it. I don't give a fuck that he paints his nails. I really don't give a shit. Fashion is cyclical. Like shit, the fashion changes on a regular basis. If painting your nails is cool now, great. But crying to his mom,
sobbing.
Wait till you get to the car.
Save that shit for the locker room. Yeah, save
that
shit
till you get to the fucking car, would you? Yeah. But whatever. He's like 20-year-old kid, so I think he'll be fine. I'm obviously talking.
Okay, crying to your mom? What's your opinion on crying to your fellow players? Is that different?
Bobby, the optics were that he he was so upset about the way the game ended that he didn't go to the locker room with his players who are also probably upset.
Oh,
He jumped into the fucking stands and cried in his mom's lap. Those are the optics.
Okay. That's not great. That's not great.
Listen,
That's not a good one.
listen. If my mans can throw the ball, I don't give a fuck. But don't
throwing it with tears in his as
can
Lou,
you just
as
can you
grin.
just can you save it for your therapist's office, man? Like, just manage those things. Manage those things on a regular basis so that it doesn't spill out in front of everybody. Do the correct amount of work. Get him a fucking therapist. I don't know. Get him a sports psychologist. Where I'm in full belief of those guys. Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is like, if he's a generational player, the people who said he was going to be a generational player will be like, oh my God, I fucking told everybody. If he's a bust, there are going to be people waiting with their knives out, waiting to be like, it's because he cried to his mom. Or it's because being an NFL quarterback is pretty hard. It's like a top 10 hard job to succeed at. So I don't know. Like there's a good chance that you fuck it up. So it's regardless of whether you cried to your mom or not. So, but yeah, I don't love it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Plenty of players fuck it up and haven't cried on TV, but it is what it is.
I have to say, I think this is the first number one pick that like the only real big negative that he has is that he's a little emotional and like he might be soft and likes to cry to his mom.
Well,
it's funny. That's a good negative, I guess.
I was going to bring that up. If you look at like the negatives of the articles published of the draft that we were talking about, when you click on like their this is their positives, these are the negatives, like they're essentially correct. Like you look at Justin Fields and it was like his eyes go a little soft across the middle. He's a little easy to read because he kind of gets a little lazy eyed. He like locks onto one target. He struggles if they like sneak guys on him, and like he doesn't feel the edge pressure very well, and he's like quick to run. And that all turned out to be true. And then if you look at Mac Jones's, it was like his fucking handles are terrible. Like if he tries to run an RPO, like he can't switch hands fast enough.
Super white.
He doesn't have a lot of finesse. There was a lot of that. I'll actually just read it to you. I'm looking at it right now. If you go down to his negatives,
you're excited to read this, aren't you? You're like, actually, you know what? I really enjoyed reading this. So.
Very thin lower body and struggles to fight off rush contact. Yeah, absolutely.
Very white.
It was murdered.
Very white.
Anybody that went near him for the entirety of last season. Slow ball handler on RPOs, leaves back half behind in his follow through. Average release quickness. Average release quickness could be the title of his autobiography, I think. Average release quickness.
It's actually a pretty good title, I gotta say.
It's not bad, right? Doesn't play with the desired poise of an NFL starter. Now, you can do a lot of damage control with the offensive line that he had in front of him, but the poise,
no,
I think that turned out to be true. Play can be panicky and rushed in the face of pressure. Every single negative is another way to call him a fucking pussy. It's just like, let's think of a new sentence. It's like, he's got little legs. He's got little legs and he's scared. He's got little legs and he's scared of when the big men come for him. That's like, it's like, I think you got to believe this shit when you read it in a little bit. Like when you look
at what are Caleb's negatives?
I only have, hold on. If you guys can talk,
Mac Jones pulled up.
Use his tears as lube.
I have Justin Fields pulled up. I'll do Justin Fields. And then I'll go find Caleb's while you guys talk about it amongst yourselves. How about that? Weaknesses: needs to improve pocket mobility for clean launch points. I agree with that. I think his footwork in the pocket. Below average feel for edge pressure, running himself into pressure points. He absolutely does. He does 100% runs all the straight into shit. And then he's fast enough where he's like, oh, fuck. And then he like goes another way. And you're like, wow, he made it. Holy shit. And that's fun to watch. I mean, that's the thing. Field vision is average in the face of the blitz. That's true. Missed open blitz beaters in the middle of the field. Yes. Yeah. When he got
I literally
he couldn't find open
that
guys.
One play. Yeah. There's that one play where Cole Kmet was wide open in the end zone that he missed. That's the exact thing. Yep.
Forces receivers to slow for deep throws. I think he fixed that. I think he figured out his deep ball over the course of the last 2 years. Stagnant eyes invite coverage to the passing party. He's got huge eyes. He's like his facial features, like his eyes are enormous. Like I think it's great for like trying to pick up girls probably, but it's probably also great if you're a safety. And you're just like, Jesus, those things are like billboards. I can fucking see them here. It's why he does the fucking like the dark visor, I think.
Can we do a thing where I read Caleb Williams' weaknesses as
Yeah.
given by NFL?
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you?
great, perfect.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Averse to playing
Too
throw and
pretty,
catch football
too handsome.
on schedule. Eyes can become sticky and sluggish working through progressions.
Oh no!
Must learn to throw with better anticipation and timing.
Oh, dude, Fields got the opposite of that. He had that as a strength. He had wait, where was it?
Funny how they do that.
Yeah, it's strange that there's a well, anyway, whatever. Keep going. I'll find it.
It's not that strange.
Hero ball mentality creates indecisiveness and inconsistent decision making, which is redundant. Disconcerting
Yes.
deep ball accuracy in a quarterback friendly offense. Will throw on the move unnecessarily rather than platform up, and passes up easy scramble yardage for more challenging throws.
You know what? Can you do me a favor? Can you go find Pat Mahomes? Because I swear to God, if his weaknesses are the same as Caleb Williams, I'm leaving this conversation thinking we're drafting Pat Mahomes.
Like you kind of are
I
trying to
think
find Dax.
this is fun. I'm enjoying
It
this.
is kind of fun, yeah.
I think this is true. Strengths of Justin Fields, plenty of zip for long field side throws. That's definitely true. Attention and drive mechanics generates velocity. Yes. He does set his feet well. Makes quality reads when deciphering high-low concepts. That's true. Confident and comfortable throwing into intermediate zone windows. Willing to take a big hit to deliver a pass. Good command and accuracy on boot action to the right. Keeps defense honest with his legs. That was a fucking understatement of the century. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I take back my maybe people didn't know shit thing. These guys definitely were saying it. Maybe we just weren't paying attention because all this stuff turned out to be pretty true. All the weaknesses turned out to be pretty true. What about Caleb Williams on strengths? Because I need to get cheered up now.
Oh yeah, tons. Let's see. Forced to keep his team in games with high-end production and did so. Better consistency projected with pro targets who separate. Rapid-fire transition from fake throw on RPOs. Twitchy release helps generate heat on drive throws. Puts enough pace on the ball to challenge safeties to a variety of spots. Will reset his pocket to create better throwing angles. Much improved at getting air under deep throws in 2023. Keeps his eyes and arm alive when leaving the pocket. Rare talent to feel pressure, escape, and extend the play.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
a lot
it
of people are saying the zip on his ball is like the thing that makes him.
Oh, Bobby found Dax.
Oh, great.
I sure did.
Let's
Sure
hear it.
did.
Two weaknesses first. Lead with
You want to
the
go weak? You want to go weak?
Lead with the longer list.
Weaknesses are so the weaknesses are so good, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dak,
Okay.
wait, hold on. What round and pick did he go?
Dak Prescott was 2016. He was late. I think it was round
He was
4,
third.
pick 37.
That's
So it was
third.
super late. He got drafted. His NFL comparison was Brett Hundley. Fuck is Brett Hundley? Wait, what does this say? Pick 37. There isn't even 37
So-
teams.
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
that
it's
means he was
supplemental?
second round.
round.
Second round pick, dude.
Second round.
No, round
keep-
4, pick. It literally says drafted by Dallas Cowboys. Round
Oh yeah. Supplemental.
supplemental draft. That's why. Yeah. So yeah, no. So weaknesses. Beat up this year thanks to poor protection. When he wasn't being sacked, he was being hit hard. Not as competitive as a rusher in 2015. Sacks and usage and run game might be taking a toll. Increasing short pass attempts from 86 to 208 this year for higher completion numbers. Accuracy on intermediate and deep throws dropped sharply. Pocket poise has been compromised. Hyper aware of pressure around him and lacks awareness to slide and find temporary shelter to make a throw.
Yep.
Concern over pressure too often trumps ability to get through progressions.
That's fucking for
Must-
sure.
100%, dude. Must speed up the pace of his reads. Ready? This is my favorite one. You guys will love this one. One sentence. Footwork is a mess.
He admitted that.
He did. He knows it now. I guess that is something that he is very aware of. That's slight stride onto stiff upper leg with little weight shift, restricted follow through, and too often tries to muscle throws with his upper body. Facts. Throws to target rather than leading or throwing them open on short intermediate throws. Facts. That also causes pick sixes nowadays. Too respectful of underneath coverage and must be more willing to challenge the defense. Needs to improve anticipation.
Yeah, I think they pretty much nailed him. But you know what? What are his strengths though? Because he definitely did better than a 4th round QB. Like, in all honesty,
So
he did.
the thick, muscular frame has proven over last 3 seasons that he can withstand a pounding. Sorry, I can't help it. Has enough natural arm strength and hip snap. It's like they knew his signature warm-up was going to be. And to fit throws into an NFL window. Stands tall and delivers a tight spiral with over-the-top delivery. Very little wind-up and gets the ball out with a flick of a wrist. Pocket is clean, can deliver accurate strikes around the field. Played with improved vision and care for football this season and eliminated many of
he was always convincing you he was going to play more careful football. He was always
it's so fun because that's literally what the up and down of Dak Prescott is right there. Played with improved vision and care for the football. When Dak is at his best, his vision is on point and he makes no turnovers. When he's at his worst, he doesn't see shit and throws interceptions every fucking play, or at least 3 or 4 a game. Threat with his legs, scoring 37 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 seasons, 94 rushes of 10 yards or more. Can be used as a goal line rushing option, which we've seen plenty of times. Willing to extend plays outside of pocket with legs, but look to finish the play with his arm. Very true. Kind of lost that after his foot snapped in half and we saw him try and jam it back in on the field. But, I guess that's warranted. You can't blame a guy for that. Mentally tough enough to carry a heavy offensive burden for the Bulldogs over the last 3 years. That's up and down for sure.
They may have missed the mark.
Up and down on the mentally tough part. But when protected better in 2014, showed an ability to challenge deep and strike with accuracy and touch. With is spot on. When Dak is protected and he has clean pockets all game, he fucking tears defenses apart. But as soon as he gets people in his face and you start making him scramble and mess with his head, he's in trouble.
Yeah, so when he plays 11 on 5, he's untouchable.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's
that was fun.
You know what's a funny one?
It was good. I like that.
In Fields' analysis on the same website, draft projection round 1, NFL comparison, Dak Prescott.
Full circle, guys. Full circle.
Before we drafted him.
It's what we're best at.
Well, I think that was fun. We're going to try and pump out some basketball content this week. Like I said, Celtics play the Bucks tomorrow, so we might want to reflect on that. Mike, we have to revisit the fact that you ruined my outlook on this team the last time we talked. The Celtics, that is, because you that all the bad things I was thinking, all the intrusive thoughts were true.
And not to delay your outro, but
loss is a loss, guys. It's okay.
No, when a team is this much of a wagon, the losses mean more than the wins because they don't happen as frequently, and they're glaring.
Not true. Yes. That is the most Patriots outlook on this fucking team that I've ever heard in my life.
No, it's all the glaring stuff.
It's already starting, isn't it? It's already starting, isn't it? Oh, Bobby, God.
Listen,
here we fucking go.
It's the way that they lose.
Here we fucking go.
The way that they lose, that's the problem. Right. It's the way, because it's it's fixable the way that they lose, and it's I get it. They could lose big, and it's they can't beat the fucking
Nuggets.
So anyway,
we like Nuggets though. We like Nuggets.
That's a little sneak preview of the Celtics talk. But for the football talk, I've been DK Sizzle. He's been Mike Marcangelo. He's been real BK Bob Kelly. Dak Prescott's been Dak Prescott the whole time. And that I bid you adieu.
Electricast. Welcome to the Candle Power Hour. Come with us backstage behind the scenes of show business spanning over 4 decades and bringing you the experiences that can only be told by the people who were there.
Our guests are from the A-list, the F-list, and everyone in between. Get set for some of the most insane, hilarious, and inspiring stories you will ever hear.
I'm Mercury.
And I'm Diego.
Your hosts for the Candle Power Hour.
Introducing the Deep Leadership Podcast. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former submarine officer who spent 22 years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Deep leadership is real-world, actionable leadership advice from John and his expert guests. Become a leader worth following. Subscribe today.
Electricast. Electricast.